Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome or welcome back. I know I'm a couple of days late. September, at least the beginning of it, is still considered summer. So I am still going to participate in John or Steinbeck summer with my reviews on Red Pony and then also The Pearl. I was going to do this in my wrap up, but that one already got too long, so I'm just doing separate ones, and that's what I'm going to do. So I hope you don't mind. So the Red Pony is way different than I was expecting. Uh, it also made me know that John Steinbeck really is one of my favorite authors. I thought it was going to be a story, like a child story about like Black Beauty where the horse talks, or and you get the horse's point of view, or even the Black Stallion, which was fascinating, but a child story. And so this is more about the loss of childhood, or I guess the loss of innocence as you're going through childhood. He comes face to face with mortality. His grandfather visits, and I think that's a very good, like a mirror. I think it's his great grandfather actually, but it's like a mirror into who he could become, or what, knowing he's old and he's going to die, and understanding for the first time that his idols are not infallible. His dad and the farmhand, they're not perfect. They make mistakes. The grandfather's getting old and he's going to die. He keeps getting yelled at or mocked by the dad because the grandpa's always telling the same stories over and over. He's like reliving in the past. It feels very much so realistic to me because my own grandfather, with dementia coming in and stuff, he talks the same stories over and over. And you don't interrupt. You just listen because that's what he remembers. That's what he wants to talk about. He doesn't remember a lot of the newer things now, so he always goes back and tells the same stories from the old time. When that gets bad is when you're only living in the past, and you forget to live in the present. You forget to live in the future. You forget that maybe the past is better left in the past because the things that happen, the things that you're doing, are not actually good. So the stories that the grandpa keeps telling are his journey out west, basically like the Oregon Trail type of thing. And he led this group. So he's talking about killing the Native Americans. He's talking about basically assuming that the land is theirs and it belongs to them because they want it and because they claimed it, and wishing that the land didn't stop at California, that he could have kept going because that was the best experience of his life and stuff. And I guess it's also, not only does it explore mortality, not only does it explore the ideas of letting go and moving on, and like I said, not living in the past but living in the present. It also deals with racism. It deals with essential colonization, or at least expansion and claiming property that's not yours. It deals with one character that was briefly mentioned in here is most likely Hispanic and Native American, but who is indigenous to the land. But it's now their land, and they're not understanding that it's theirs now. They're not, they're not even taking into accountability that it wasn't always theirs. It's theirs now, and that's what matters. And so there's so much happening in such a little book. Just big ideas that this little boy starts to see for the first time, but that the reader is supposed to be picking up on. It's supposed to be reading through the lines and seeing that it's much more than just the story of this boy and his horse. And I should have expected more from Steinbeck. I really should have. But as I was reading it, I was just continuously in awe of what he could do in such a short amount of time, and how much he could make me feel and think, and just trying to understand the world. So I did really enjoy this book. I don't necessarily like how small the writing was. I hate writing this small. But also at the very end of the book, there's a short story, Junius Maltby. I had never heard of it. I have not read it yet. I was going to save it for this month for Shorty September if I have time, just because it's so short. But I wanted to do my review for this book. I also want to talk about The Pearl. And The Pearl is very similar. It's a very short story. Up front, it looks like it's, the story about the pearling industry, how dangerous it can be, the people involved, the area it is involved. But man, does it show so much more than that, because it talks about corruption and greed, and how it's the poor people who are risking their lives getting these pearls for these rich people to buy. They're not even the middlemen. They're the smallest rung in the pole, and they just have to accept that, even though people are coming to their land and wanting their stuff. So it's just, you could tell that, especially when I talked with his story about the Moon is Down, how he was anti-fascist. But it almost seems like he's also anti-capitalist, or at least not the detrimental, corrupt kind that obviously most of it is. So hearing him talk about this pearl diver, and how eventually he is wondering, like, why am I risking my life and giving them everything? I'm gonna, keep this best pearl back for me, and how it almost represents, once you tap into that greed, that I want to be just like them, they're all doing it, I want to do it too, and how it can corrupt you from the inside out. And you get to see that within this short story, of how he just, that not just consumes him, but destroys him and his family, and how, how detrimental the whole idea of the business, the way the business is ran, the way that, you think that things belong to you just because you want them. And so therefore we want those pearls, you're going to get them for us. And, damn the consequences and all that stuff. So it's just what he can do in few short pages, and get you to think about morality, get you to think about what life means and the purpose of life, get you to understand, kind of put a mirror up to yourself, and see where you're going wrong, see what he wants you to see. And he does it in sparse words, he does it in short stories, and he does it in a straightforward way. He still only talks about, the pearl and the pearl diving. He still talks about a, red pony. And yet it's so much more than that every time. And I always like opening up a Steinbeck book and seeing what he's trying to teach me, seeing the way he reflects myself in the world and how I see the world. Because just like any good book, what you take out of a book, it says more than what the author put into a book, and how you view the world, and how you interact and go about in this world. And the fact that so much of it is fighting against immorality, and against fascism, or against greed and corporation, against just evil. The best example of that is East of Eden, and Kathy was like literally evil incarnate. She was the first woman who sinned. She represented Eve. And you have this perpetual fight of good versus evil throughout that story, with continuously retelling the story of two brothers, essentially playing the roles of Cain and Abel over and over again. And so he just really had a way of understanding humans, understanding motivations, understanding our philosophical and our theological and just our psychological need to be understood, to belong, to have purpose, to have meaning, and then how not having those things leaves you open for seeking out the things that are more detrimental, greed, power, influence, all that stuff, because you lacked this fundamental part of being human. And I feel like these are short stories, and these were, I think, even one of his later stories. And so just seeing how he can do that in big books, but how he got so good at also being able to do that in small books will continue to fascinate me. And I will continue to read and have so much respect for John Steinbeck. So I hope this is something that you intend to read, or at least if you have already read it, I would love to hear your thoughts or any other recommendations about which ones I should read next for Steinbeck. I know that I have to still read The Winter of Our Discontent. That is the number one on my list, but I've already read Cannery Row, East of Eden, Grapes of Wrath, Of Mice and Men, The Moon is Down, The Pearl and the Red Pony. So anything that you have suggestion-wise that are not those books, please let me know. And if you have read those books that I mentioned and have your own thoughts that you would like to share with me, I would like to hear those as well. Thank you. Happy reading.